I do real estate for a living, and I also own a moving company. And there was this lady that I sold her house, and I was just going to move her to California. And I was the one doing the move because a lot of the guys that do it for me, especially 4 years ago, I didn't have the staff. It was just kind of weird timing. I needed to go on the trip. Okay. We don't take propane tanks in the back of the trucks. Big U-Haul truck we take to California, from St. George, California. It's like a 6-hour drive. And we're not supposed to take propane. I tell her, somehow one sneaks on the truck, right in the middle of the truck. The good news is the truck wasn't like packed to the gills. It was just kind of floated like chest high throughout the whole 26-foot truck. I knew where we put the grill. It was like right in the middle. Anyway, we drive to California. We get there. She's got us set up at this like nice retreat in Palm Springs, right on a golf course. She's paying for it. Super nice. We're like thinking we're living the life. We have this suite. And we get up the next morning. We're going to go unload her stuff into her house in Palm Springs. And as we approach the truck, we see through like just like any hole in the back of the truck, there's just propane just pouring out of the back of the truck. I'm like, how in the world does this happen? Like, I told her no propane tanks, and I'm smelling it, and I'm like, how in the world does this thing get back here? So immediately in my mind, I'm like, I know where it's at. It's underneath the grill. So you know how like grills have like those tarps that go over them, and then there's like a compartment that you like have to open up, and then it's like the propane tank sits inside. You know what I'm talking about? So we forgot to check. We just put it on straight with the cover, and we saw 2 other propane tanks that we pulled out that were in her backyard, and we thought, well, she doesn't have 3, you know? So we didn't even think to check. Anyway, I'm thinking in my mind, crap, I gotta go shut that off. Stupid thought, but that was my thought. That was my first thought. I'm like, this, I don't wanna start the truck, I don't wanna drive it, I gotta stop the source, right? So open up the back of the truck. There's no ventilation in those U-Haul trucks. It's literally just the back opens up, and then you can't like vent it and let the air like flow through it. So I'm just like trying to fan it out. We're trying to fan it out the best we can. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go for it. So I suck in, and I get up in the truck, and I'm climbing over stuff, and I'm just like getting to the middle of the truck, and I get there, and I go to lift up the cover, and because I developed static electricity all over my body, and there's propane all around me, if you can think about it, it was just like a big mushroom full of propane, high concentrated propane, underneath that grill, that cover. I saw the spark from my hand, and the whole truck, this huge boom, just went poof. The whole truck, hot flash. I'm not talking shrapnel from the propane tank. I'm talking all the air in the truck. Okay, got it? And so instant second-degree burns all over my limbs. It's all over my hands. So I'm conscious, but I'm not going into shock. And so I just remember like, oh, ambulances are expensive, so I don't want to get in an ambulance. But they're like, hey, like you could die. Like you need to get in an ambulance because if you inhaled any of that propane, when the flash happens, it can actually go through your passageway and singe your lungs, and you'll be dead in like 30 minutes. Now I start to freak out. I'm like, I'll get in that freaking ambulance. So I get in the ambulance, and they're driving me. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm like literally going into shock, like pooping my pants. Like my body's out of control. But I'm conscious. And they're like, hey, we got to lifeline him because the nearest place is San Bernardino, California. He's got to get to a burn care unit as soon as possible. So they go to this landing pad that's close by. This is the helicopter. So we go to this landing pad. They get me from the stretcher out of the ambulance, and they throw me in the helicopter. As I'm up in the helicopter going to San Bernardino, I was able to review my life. It was kind of like a quiet moment, even though I'm like going into shock. It's almost like out of body. I don't know if any of you guys have had that before. It's really weird. And I had some thoughts go through my mind. And kind of in an instant, I knew all the things that I was messing up with in life. And then I had this thought, if I were to die right now, because I could, because they just told me that it could singed my lungs, would I be happy with the life that I've lived so far? And the answer, guys, was just kind of like, no. Like, I've done some cool things. I've done some good things. I've tried to be a good person. But it was so just like, not that cool. That ate at me. That ate at me so hard. My wife, we had our first girl that you saw there, and she was pregnant with my second. So you know how your thoughts just are like super fast? I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about all the things that I've done. I'm thinking about how can I leave them? I need to be there for them. I need to be better for them. Obviously, I'm here. Like, we get to the hospital. They clean me up. They do their thing. I go home. I recover. PTSD is a real thing. That was probably the worst of it. But it was painful, okay? Going back to the original thought. the first thought I shared was what? God wants you to win. God wants you to win. God put this in my life. 100%. It was painful. It was just, it happened like in an instant. Couldn't have planned for it. Literally, I'm just going in there, just shut it off. Poof. You think of how you're like, all of your just adrenaline is just going, like, what just happened? I was like, I didn't know if I lost my limbs. My eyes were, I couldn't see. It was like blacked out. It's like, do I have legs? Like all these things going through my mind. I don't know. Just a loud boom, and I got thrown out of the truck. And I hurt. God put that in my life.